Item number 7. Making the Trade Waste Bylaw and General Bylaw number 1 suite of bylaws. Okay, we have Mr. Nick Carroll and Jane Budge in the chair this afternoon. Good afternoon, guys.
Your Worship, I'll just cover off one issue to start with, and then I'll hand over to Jane, who's the expert in this area. Some of you will have received a copy of an email from Mr. Nevilleston, which I forwarded earlier today. Some of you won't have got that, so a copy's been printed and has been tabled and passed out. That email raises a couple of issues and suggests that there may be some legal problems with you adopting the bylaws, particularly the Reserves and Public Places bylaw, as recommended by the committee that went through the whole hearing process. Unfortunately, with our legal counsel away, I've had to go outside of council, so I had a brief discussion with Tompkins Wake this morning and sought their advice. There's an email containing that advice, which is also being tabled and circulated to you. In essence, there are probably 3 key points. The suggestion in the email from Mr. Nevilleston is that you're not in a position where you can create a bylaw which allows cats to be on reserves. And he's pointed to the offence sections in the Reserves Act as the basis for that decision. As you'll see from the advice from Tompkins Wake, that's not actually the case in reality. In terms of the legal position, the offences section in the Reserves Act says these are some things which you're not allowed to do unless council or another authority which is in charge of the reserves allows those things to happen. And that's exactly what you have, or what the committee is proposing you do through the bylaw. So the bylaw clause 22 says that thou shalt not have animals on the reserves except for dogs and cats. So that's essentially what you're doing. You're allowing an exception for dogs and cats to be on reserves. And as noted in the minutes which you received earlier, there are real practical reasons why you would do that. So first point is you are able to do what is being proposed. Second point is, from a practical perspective, it makes a lot of sense. It's nigh on unenforceable to be able to chase up individual cats and their owners every time that they venture onto a reserve. It makes no sense to pass a bylaw which you have no ability to enforce in any pragmatic way. The third point that Lachlan from Tompkins Wake makes is that you also need to have an evidential basis when you're regulating over the top of people's rights. In this situation, there is not an evidential basis which has been created to show that cats are the scourge of the earth and therefore should be prohibited from being on reserves. So there are those 3 key points which have been raised by Mr. Nevilleston and addressed by the lawyer Lachlan Muldowney from Tompkins Wake. I'm happy to take any questions on that. Any questions about the bylaws in general are probably much better directed to Jane, who knows them inside and out. Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions of Jane, or did you want to make any commentary, Jane? Or?
Just that the... Yeah.
Councillor Stewart.
Just a question on the wording then, because we've said dogs and cats. Should we, this is just a question about, should we put domesticated cats? Because then if people want to get rid of feral cats, then they're perfectly at liberty to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Just to clarify that.
How do you tell the difference, Mr. Chairman, between the two?
If you've tracked cats, John, then you would know that if you had a feral cat or a domestic cat, would I think.
All right. Councillor Williamson, did you have any
No,
comments?
I was just saying, how would you know who owns the feral cats? I mean, it's a logistical nightmare, isn't it? Trying to
Also,
monitor
other
it.
ones with nice fur and microchip.
Wildling cats.
All right.
I'll
Jane, sorry. Did you want to say anything, Jane? Or?
Only that I would agree, but yes, I wouldn't agree with the corporate solicitor here. He's suggesting domesticated dogs and cats. As discussed with Nick earlier, the dogs are actually taken care of by the Control of Dogs Act, and I wouldn't want to get it mixed up with the Act.
Just purely because I'm not on that committee and wasn't that in different parts where it's about people can approach the chief executive if they think they've been done wrong by or whatever, or their delegated representatives being blanked out in all the bylaws. Was there any?
It is actually superfluous to requirements because
Right.
effectively your employer is the chief executive. His delegations are set out separately.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other?
John, I just had a question with regards to the skateboard banned areas. I happened to be on the lakefront over the weekend, and I noticed a number of people on skateboarders moving at pace. I'm just wondering whether that new section of Lake Terrace could be part of that, because it's really just along to Ferry Road, not further south. We've got pedestrians, we've got cyclists, now we've got skateboards there. It may well be covered by that map, but it only goes to Ruapehu Street.
This was the exact map out of the current requirements. If you're intending to actually widen the area, we probably need to go back out for a public consultation to actually state that you're actually, yes, widening those restrictions.
Why don't we just put the sign up and wait for the reaction? Then say, oops, we made a mistake.
Would you like to put?
No one's game enough.
Through Mr Chairman, what I'd say, I guess, is, as I see your point, post Tuwhare Treaty Settlement, we're going to need to look at that boat harbour anyway, and I'd say that's probably the time to then include it, given the advice that you've had that we have to go back out for consultation. So it's probably one of those ones that we can address in the near future.
This is more further south.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There's a suggested recommended resolution on 7/6. 1 through till 12.
Just one question through the chair. Question to Jane. When we had our hearings, we didn't discuss fees on the litter bylaw, did we? This is new information, is that correct?
No, that's the current ones that have been set, but we do have to re-litigate those under the new litter bylaw. The Litter Act's actually quite clear, and there's a process that you must follow.
Sure, so this is just following the processes. Okay, thank you.
Could I just check that if we get queries from Mr Nevilton, our officers of the council will be prepared to answer,
You as chair will probably.
because we do get a few phone calls from that gentleman that is.
Okay. All right. Can I have a mover then, please? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Seconded by Councillor Christowski. 1 through till 12. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried.